Welcome to another edition of the official EHW YouTube channel. Now I'm here today to discuss WWE Elimination Chamber pay-per-view 2013. Now this is all just a test to see if I want to continue doing this for not only WWE pay-per-views, but TNA pay-per-views. So tell me what you think by commenting below. Sit back, relax, and enjoy my explanation and results of WWE Elimination Chamber 2013. So the first matchup of the night would be Team Rhodes Scholars, Cody Rhodes and Damien Sandow versus Tensai and Brodus Clay in a tag team match on the WWE Fan Nation shaping up YouTube channel. Scholars would win and take control of the matchup, but closer to the end, Brodus Clay and Tensai started to work together and team up against Team Rhodes Scholars, and in the end, Tensai and Brodus Clay would land a double frog splash, which may be a new tag team finisher, to score their win for the 1, the 2, and the 3, and they would end up partying victorious with the Funkadactyls with a win over Team Rhodes Scholars. So the first match of the night would be Big Show versus the World Heavyweight Champion Alberto Del Rio in a World Heavyweight Championship match. So in the beginning, Big Show took control, and then later on, Alberto Del Rio started to fight back, scratch and claw his way back into the matchup, and he actually got a cross arm breaker on the Big Show, but the Big Show managed to struggle out, but that did not stop Alberto Del Rio from keeping to fight back. But then later in the match, the Big Show started to take control, and he kicked Ricardo Rodriguez off the ring apron to the ground, and that would just leave Alberto Del Rio versus the Big Show in the middle of the ring. And then later on, Alberto Del Rio would get speared by the Big Show in the middle of the ring, but Alberto Del Rio would not give up, and he moved out of the way of a knockout punch, the WMD once, but in the end, the Big Show would end up tapping out to Alberto Del Rio, and Alberto Del Rio would retain the World Heavyweight Championship. So then the next match of the night would be The Miz versus Antonio Cesaro in a United States Championship match. So for most of the beginning of the match, Antonio Cesaro controlled it by doing some ground and pound moves and attacking The Miz's injured arm. But towards the end of the match, The Miz started to make a comeback, starting to fight back, and he set up Antonio Cesaro for the figure 4 leg lock. Antonio Cesaro fought out, but then in the end, The Miz would go for the figure 4 leg lock again, and Antonio Cesaro would push The Miz down onto his crotch area, and the ref would ring the bell disqualifying The Miz. Antonio Cesaro finding another way to retain the United States Championship. So the next match of the night would be the Elimination Chamber match to determine the #1 contender for the World Heavyweight Championship at WrestleMania 29. So who started out this match was Daniel Bryan and Chris Jericho. They fought back and forth. It was fantastic to see some submission and technical wrestling in the middle of the ring. Then Jack Swagger would enter the Elimination Chamber match, and he would fight and destroy Daniel Bryan and Chris Jericho. But Chris Jericho would end up fighting back with Jack Swagger, and in this picture doing a diving crossbody to Jack Swagger. So the next person to enter the match would be Kane, and Kane would confront with Daniel Bryan, but in the end, Daniel Bryan being attacked by Kane. Then the next superstar to enter the Elimination Chamber would be the Viper, Randy Orton, but only to be put through the pod in the Elimination Chamber match. This was one of those insane moments. It was crazy. Randy Orton was just put straight through that Lexon pod. Then the next insane moment in the Elimination Chamber match would be Mark Henry being suplexed by Chris Jericho and Jack Swagger onto the outside steel in the Elimination Chamber match. There was many brawls and things involving the steel, but this was one thing that definitely stood out to most fans in the Elimination Chamber match. In the end, it looked like it was either going to be Randy Orton or Chris Jericho, Y2J, who would pick up the victory. but Jack Swagger came from behind and did whatever he could to win the match, and he rolled up Randy Orton for the 1, the 2, and the 3, and shocked the world and won the Elimination Chamber match to become the new #1 contender for the World Heavyweight Champion. So the next match of the night would be Sheamus, John Cena, and Ryback versus The Shield. So in the beginning, John Cena, Sheamus, and Ryback really controlled the match against The Shield. Then The Shield fought back and they got control of the match, and it was now in their hands. They would keep John Cena, Sheamus, and Ryback in their corner, and ultimately Roman Reigns would spear Sheamus through the barricade wall. Later on, Ryback would lift up Seth Rollins for the Shell Shock. But before Ryback could slam Seth Rollins to the mat, Roman Reigns would spear Ryback, and Seth Rollins would fall on top of Ryback for the 1, the 2, and the 3, leaving John Cena, Sheamus, and Ryback puzzled. Later on in the next segment, Dolph Ziggler would strut out to the ring, expressing his skills to the WWE Universe. But then Booker T would make a match, Dolph Ziggler versus Kofi Kingston, in a singles match. Dolph Ziggler controlled the first part of the match, but then later on the match, it looked like Kofi Kingston was going to pick up the victory against Dolph Ziggler. But due to the aid of the help of Big E Langston, Dolph Ziggler picked up the win against Kofi Kingston. The next match of the night would be Kaitlyn versus Tamina Snuka in a Divas Championship match. For the most part, Kaitlyn took part of the beginning of the match, but later in the match, Tamina Snuka would capitalize on Kaitlyn and go for her finisher, the Frog Splash. But in doing the Frog Splash maneuver, Kaitlyn would move out of the way, Tamina Snuka would fall to the canvas. But then Kaitlyn would win the match and retain the Divas Championship. The next match would be CM Punk versus The Rock for the WWE Championship. So CM Punk would spit in the face of The Rock, and The Rock would run rapid on CM Punk, just drilling him and beating him up in the middle of the ring. But then CM Punk would take control of the match, and he would hit the elbow drop from the top rope, one of his signature maneuvers. Then CM Punk would hit the rock bottom on the announce table to The Rock. Yes, you heard that right. CM Punk hit the rock bottom to The Rock on the announce table, in effort to make The Rock lose by countout and win the WWE Championship, only to fail because The Rock would get back in the ring at the count of 9. But later on in the match, The Rock would hit the rock bottom on CM Punk, but CM Punk would kick out. But then The Rock would accidentally knock the referee off of the ring apron. But then later on, to get GTS'd by CM Punk. But there was no referee to count the 1, 2, 3 on The Rock. But then CM Punk tried for a second GTS, but The Rock reversed and hit CM Punk with the people's elbow. But then came down a second referee to count CM Punk. 1, 2, CM Punk would kick out of the people's elbow. But then CM Punk would accidentally roll the second referee's ankle, and then he would get the rock bottom. The third referee would come in the ring. 1, 2, 3, and The Rock retained the WWE Championship. So I hope you liked my WWE Elimination Chamber 2013 pay-per-view review and results. Tell me if you want me to continue doing these kind of videos for not only WWE pay-per-views, but TNA pay-per-views.